It's 1945, and the Nuremberg trials are going on. The Nazis are being tried for their crimes against humanity. Meanwhile, in America, Project Paperclip is being started. Project Paperclip would later on become MKUltra. They begin by hiring 1,500 Nazis from the Nuremberg trials, helping them avoid prosecution for their crimes against humanity. Now they're put into Project MKUltra, the program to use drugs, torture, and sexual abuse to create super soldiers, people who are unaware that they're soldiers, so that they can be activated at a moment's notice. For the next 30 years, from 1944 to 1975, MK program moves forward. MKUltra, MK Contra, MK Sleep. All programs derived to use mind control, hypnosis, and torture and sexual abuse to create the most powerful people on Earth, able to kill in a heartbeat. This program is shut down, and all its files declassified. A stir begins. People are paid off. Canadians and Americans are found to have been kidnapped and put through this program, and eventually everything settles down. The media begins to wane. People are paid off, and the information is quietly buried. Meanwhile, Hollywood execs catch wind of this. Movies like The Manchurian Candidate, Conspiracy Theory, The Men Who Stare at Goats come out. Pineapple Express, a comedy about this. And now finally, this year, starring Jesse Eisenberg, written by Max Landis, MKUltra. A movie about a sleeper. A small town, unaware of his programming, is activated in order to fight and kill all the MK soldiers sent at him. MKUltra. MKUltra is an interesting movie all in of itself, specifically because it's about a terrible moment in American history, American and Canadian history, where the United States and Canada work together to torture, mutilate, drug, and sexually abuse people in something they called trauma bonding, where you would physically and sexually traumatize someone so they fell in love with their handlers, people designated to take care of them and monitor them. Now, MKUltra is interesting all in of itself, but we're talking about MKUltra, an action-adventure comedy based in the modern era where the MK program had been destabilized several years ago and only a few edge hangers still exist. One of the higher-ups decides he's going to shut the program down so that it's no longer a money sieve where people are being paid and nothing's going on. One of the agents is meant to be put down, but is instead activated by one of his original handlers and is thereby set up against a bunch of the flawed MK soldiers. He fights to the end and eventually learns the truth of his scenario. Now, all to say that, we are going to be talking about spoilers, so if this is to the people who have seen the movie or don't care to see it and just want to know what the movie's about. The movie deals specifically with that character and the action related around someone of that caliber being activated. And he goes on this adventure and fights a bunch of people, but you get to see him from incompetence to extremely competent as the information inside him slowly becomes more and more activated. The movie is successful in several ways, specifically the action scenes, the character development. The cinematography is very good. The lighting's very good. John Leguizamo's in it for a couple of scenes. The guy who plays Huel from Breaking Bad, he's in it as well, and he's funny in his parts. Ultimately, in the end, the movie does have its downsides. Those downsides being the use of CGI blood effects are awful and easily seen. When it happens, you're like, oh, that's CGI, and it stands out. And that's all right. That's what they were going for. Obviously, they didn't have the budget for actual squibs, and they take sometimes multiple shots and reset-ups for squibs. So CGI is your fast and easy answer, and I actually kind of hate that. The movie does really good with the writing. You can see Max Landis' writing in it, in the characters and the way they interact and the things they talk about. And even instead of being called the Walmart, it's called the Maxmart. It's just specifically because he couldn't get the rights to say Walmart in this movie and had to make it Maxmart, being that he's Max Landis. And one of the things they do very early in the movie is they pull an Edgar Wright. It might not be Edgar Wright who did this originally, but it's the one I'm aware of that did it. It's at the beginning of the movie, they tell you the whole plot of the movie, but they do it indirectly. In Shaun of the Dead, they're at the bar and they're saying, well, what are we going to do tomorrow? And he gives this explanation. Oh, we're going to wake up, we're going to this, that, or the other, and we're going to go on, he says we're going to go to the King's Head, but he means the bar, but in the movie they go to his father's. He's the king head of the family, right? Whereas at the beginning of MKUltra, he's talking about a comic he's writing and about, a space monkey, and someone's involved with him and turn betrays him, the space monkey, And it's very much the exact same as Shaun of the Dead, where it's like setting up the movie. It's like saying, this is what's going to happen, pay attention. And in the end, the movie was quite fun. It was quite well done. It's not a mind-blowing movie, and it very much detracts from the serious nature of the MKUltra programs and MK Search and all those, and Project Paperclip and Project Midnight Climax, which is sort of referenced in this, but not really. Like, Project Midnight Climax was they were paying hookers to drug Johns with LSD, and then once they were drugged, they would kidnap them, these men, and torture and mutilate and all sorts of stuff in order to program them to do stuff. They kept one guy for days with the saying, "You killed your mother," repeating over and over and over again to try and hypnotize him into believing he had done this thing, right? And the movie doesn't get into that as much as it really should. I feel like they set it up in a way that a sequel could happen. They have the character of Walter Goggins as the imperfect MKUltra, where he's taken from the psych ward and put into this program, and he is mentally unstable. And whereas Jesse's character Mike isn't unstable, he's a well-adjusted person, and they program him to feel like he just wants to do drugs all the time. I just want to hang out and smoke pot. That's it. I don't want to do anything. I'm an innocuous person. I really, really wanted to see more in relation to the MK stuff and its effects on him, because people suffer really bad nowadays because of what had been done to them. So I think the average payout for being a subject of the MKUltra stuff, when they kidnapped you and tortured you, the average payout in America was $100,000, whereas Canada refuses to pay anyone out for the MK program stuff. Canada's not as nice apparently as the States is in relation to that. I give this movie 6.5. It loses a lot of points because of its lack of seriousness in relation to a very serious thing that happened in American and Canadian history. Also, go to YouTube and like and subscribe to our page if you enjoyed this, and go and watch the podcast as well, which is done by Mike Steinberg and Corey Longmore. They do Metafilm List podcast, which is about classic movies, the best of the best. If you've ever wanted to know which black and white movies are worth watching, they'll tell you, and which modern movies borrow from them. They talk about Double Indemnity, a fantastic film, which is the original film noir. And then it follows that up with its comparison to Body Heat and how good that was. So, and how they're based on the same book, which I had no idea until I listened to this podcast. Also, Vivian Leanne Saunders does fantastic reviews of movie soundtracks. If you want to know which soundtracks stand out just on their own outside of the films they're in, and add to the films they're in, her stuff is fantastic. So yeah, definitely like and subscribe. And comment down below. The question of today is, do you think movies about real events should have a more serious tone? So yeah, that's the topic if you want to talk about that.